Hey, welcome to another episode of Dave's Imaginations. Today, we're going to recap our game from Thursday, December 1st. As our adventurers continue their investigation into the Misty Forest, looking for the dragon rider Neronvain and his green dragon Chuth. They had just left the village of Altand, and that is where we're going to pick up. That's where we'll start our recap right after this. So yeah, our adventurers had just left Altan, and the curious, and they were skeptical about their trustworthiness of the people of Altan, as they seemed to have not told everything that they knew. And yet they're on their mission to find this green dragon Chuth and his rider of Neronvain. As they left, they walked for an hour. They had just finished a long rest, and in the morning they had went on their way and walked for an hour before they came upon a dryad, and this was actually a couple weeks ago. And that they came to this dryad, and this dryad this female was seemingly fallen under a tree and was asking for help, and the group went to her aid, and as a reward for helping her, she gave them this wreath of protection to help protect the party against the prying eyes, the scrying eyes of the forest creatures of the green dragon's lair, and also protects from the fear of the dragon. They also, and finally, she revealed a path. Now, I had called it a ever going down staircase. And in the weeks since, I had actually put into the map a path that looked more like cobblestone. But okay, it gives us a direction of, they were told to stay on this path to minimize their exposure to the evils that are lurking in the forest. The evils that they have been told they had already discovered, already battled the wretched, and had, after leaving this dryad, they had encountered the lost, and they began a battle. And the previous week we had already killed one of the lost, but there two more had appeared, and one of them had grappled Strider and pulled him off the path, and they had sunk back into the mist. Now, reminder that this Misty Forest, mist is no kidding, as it's a deep fog. You can only see 10 feet before 10-ish feet on any side around you, so strictly limiting your visibility. But so these lost had pulling Strider off the path, and that is where we began our night. Now, to escape this grapple, Strider, as he thinks back and gathers his wits, he casts a spell. Strider casts a spell of freedom of movement, which frees him from the grapple and allows him to escape back into the path. And because of his moonbeam, the two lost that were there kind of hindered their path to get right back at him. The group flees further down the path and finally gets away from them, and they continue their journey, continue their quest along the road, and along the way, glowing with his good perception, just feels like something is watching him, and tell that something to the west, to the east, the north is watching them as they continue down this path. Barkworm puts an alarm in the path just to make sure no one is following them from behind, and no one is. And as the rest of the party moves forward, Barkworm is at the end, and just as the last person passes them, that is when the Lonely attack, as with our two grappling arms with their hooked barbs, shoot out at Barkworm, one missing, the other penetrating his shoulder, grappling him and starting to pull him in. And as they do, Ruckus, he goes and tries to bite this arm, the sinewy white arm appendage that is thrust out and elongated into his shoulder, the other arm reeling back into the fog. Christiana's mechanical dog runs around and bites that same arm, and Christiana hits with a couple of her hand crossbows, and then Barkworm hits it with a hold monster, and that's when the real damage hits. With the hold monster, we have that ability. The hold monster, the creature failed its save, and it was paralyzed. And with the paralyzed, you get the creature's incapacitated and can't move or speak. Creature automatically fails strength and dexterity saving throws, and attack rolls against the creature have advantage. And perhaps most damning was any attack hits the creature is a critical hit if the attacker is within 5 feet of the creature. And it did. And Christiana moved up with her hand crossbow, with her expert sharpshooter crossbow. It goes ping, 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 and does an incredible amount of damage, collapsing the creature that had previously been pulled into range by one of the other. I think it was Ruckus had done that. But while all this is happening and everyone's focused on this, on the battle with Barkworm and this lonely, on the other end of the path was Olak. And Olak, standing next to a bluff. On top of that bluff is another pair of these arms. Now, Olak, with his great armor class, manages to not get hit by those appendages, and it comes reeling in. And about the time that those appendages had been reeled in is when the rest of the crew had caught up with Olak and started to launch attacks up there. Probably the most significant of those attacks was the insect plague, the huge radius, huge area just swarming with insects, and that seemed to chase off this monstrosity of a creature. And with that creature running off, the rest of you decided to keep moving down the road and down the path. As they keep going down the path, they came up along a bluff. They hiked along probably another couple hours. They had walked up, and eventually they came upon a lake. So one of the things that had come up in this battle was the ability to cast a spell in a turn and cast a spell as a reaction. And we debated a bit during the game, and Ken went and looked it up, and what he put into the Discord chat was correct. And I'm just going to I've looked it up since also. So cast a spell in a turn and cast a spell as a reaction. And so what I found said that actually the rule is about a bonus action specifically. If you cast a bonus action spell, the only other spell you can cast on that turn are cantrips, and that casting time of 1 action. Well, that means you can actually cast 2 spells on your turn, or more even, if there's a reason or ability that gives you that ability, as long as none of them are a bonus action. And so the restrictions on multiple spells on a turn kicks in when a bonus action spells are cast. So long as you don't cast any spell as a bonus action, there's really no specific limit. So that was the cast a spell, and that's the reaction. So we'll play by that. So you can cast as many spells as you want in a turn, and even as a reaction, as long as you have not already cast a spell as a bonus action. Once you do that, the rule says no other spells can be cast on that turn. All right, and you only ever get 1 reaction, right? So there's that as well. So we had left off back to the party. We had come up to this lagoon, and the fog had lifted, and you get this beautiful blue lagoon, and off in the distance there's a waterfall and rippling through, and in the middle of this lagoon you can see these large tortoises frolicking, and I think I described it as a little bit more amorous frolicking, right? And with this scene, of course, Ruckus decides, you know what, I'm going to jump in. He transforms into a shark and goes for a little swim, only to learn that the water is actually poisoned and disrupting a mirage, as everyone realizes that water is putrid and poisonous. And Ruckus, as the shark, took some damage, and they look to those turtles. Those turtles are no longer turtles. They're actually the angry. And, we've been going in progression from the wretched, the lost, the lonely, in intensity and toughness, but we apparently have skipped one, as Christiana, our monster hunter, reminds everyone that these are the hardest ones. These are the angry, the two-headed monstrosities, and there's not two of them. See them and start to approach, and they look over the whole pond, and there's 8 more that also seem to be coming their way. But as these angry seem to be approaching, of course, Ruckus has gotten out of the water, and they all get in defense, and we roll initiative, and we're starting to attack. Everyone focuses on one, as that one has been hit by fairy fire, and even though it had submerged underwater, they could still see this petrified water. They could still see the glow of where it was, which is enough for most of them to be able to kick off their spells. And they just one after another hit this angry with spells, and eventually take it down. About the time it did, they had come to the shore, and one of them, the other one was in base contact when it was able to attack, and just as they take down the one, everyone decided we're going to make a run for it, because they can't take on 9 other of these creatures with the 250 plus hit points. They're incredibly tough, and they decide to make a run for it. And of course, Gloin can't help himself but to... Gloin can't help himself and blast 7. He blasts 7 of these guys with a fireball before they decide to run away. And that is where we ended our night. Our team had just finished their round, and they're going to take off and duck back into the cover of the fog, and hopefully flee before the rest of them can pursue and get away from these lumbering monstrosities. And so that's where we ended our evening. So I hope you're having as much fun as I am. How are they going to survive 9 more of these monstrosities? Will these monstrosities be able to catch them? I don't know. Where is Chuth and Neronvain? The lair was supposed to be revealed to them, but only after they killed all 4 of the Sorrowsworn. They've only killed 3. They still need to find 1. And their resources, their spells are being depleted. And they keep saying, hey, well, we're going to take a long rest. I don't know. We'll see about that. Will they be able to? Will they have a chance to? We'll have to see next week. So if you've enjoyed this as much as I have, please take a moment to hit that like button, if you would, please, and subscribe if you haven't already. I know most of you already have. Well, that's all I have for you, but we will be playing again this Thursday, 2 weeks in a row. Who knows? We'll be playing again this Thursday as we continue our search for Neronvain and Chuth, and I look forward to it. I hope you do too. Until then, take care.